All right. I'm going to minimize this. Okay. So now I can't see anyone, but hopefully you all can see a blue screen that says Homosassa Springs. And let me see if I can get rid of. Okay, I'm starting with a map. This is the Evergreen map under the map search button. And hold on. Now, isn't that interesting? I put an arrow right here and it didn't save it. Do you see where my cursor is? This is Homosassa. And this is the Gulf of Mexico. Down here we have Tampa, and here's Orlando. So this is, you know, if you were over, you're talking to someone in Delray and Beach, and that's just over here. So you could easily come over. And then I just wanted to remind everyone that when you're on the map, you can either view the screen as the map or view it as the list. And this lists everyone. And for a quick glance, isn't it nice to have all these pictures? This person chose to put the green X that said they're actively hosting. And this person is actively not hosting. Everybody else is just, you know, the red and the green icons are to help you in your planning, to speed things up. But everyone else is sort of open and taking it case by case. And so the other thing that's nice about this page is that it shows the miles over here from whatever you typed in up here for your location. So you can tell exactly how far that is, which is a nice tool. Okay, so this is the Homosassa Homosassa Springs Wildlife Park. And I tried to do some research figuring I'm always the one asking, like Mary or Billy or whoever is doing the programs, extra details. And I thought, I don't know any extra details. I better find out some because someone might ask me. And I couldn't find out who Ellie Schiller was. So I don't know if she originally owned the property or, you know, what she did, but her name gets to be on the park. So if anybody knows and can tell me, that would be fine. Okay, why? It's not advancing. Well, there we go. I don't know what happened. Okay, so this is a map when you're coming into Homosassa Springs. Let me just see if I missed some maps. Nope. Okay. So there are actually two entrances. One is over here, and this is sort of the new entrance. And you park, it's a bigger parking lot, and you can either take a tram or they have a boat ride. I imagine it goes down here and down here and lets you off. But there is also a parking lot right down here. And so the secret, the key to making this trip, you know, sometimes you can go to these wildlife things and you can spend all day. And really, maybe you'd rather just see everything in an hour and a half. And that's what you can do with this little wildlife refuge. I mean, if you stop and read every sign they have, they've got so much excellent information. It will definitely take you longer. But we happened to get there at 4 o'clock in the afternoon, and it closed at 5:30. And this parking lot up here hardly had anybody in it. So we parked there, we walked inside, and we're going to get our tickets. And the tickets for an adult, and they count adults 13 and up, were $13. And children, and that's up to the age of 13, 12, was $5. Well, at 4 o'clock or 4:01, they give you 20% off your ticket. And just because it's only going to be open another hour and a half. Now, I think if you're on this, if you parked over here and took the boat or the tram, I think you have to leave here at about 5. So if you're going to get there late, and you park here, then you can stay the whole time and have your whole hour and a half. So just a few little things to keep in mind. And it was easy to do it in the hour and a half, and hardly anyone was there. So here's just a quick little picture to tease you with, to see how clear the water is, and that, you know, these are not boulders. These are, in fact, the manatee. And they were just all over the place. It was quite fun. And as I shared with some people earlier, most of the pictures are mine. Some were from the website or on Google that just were better than my pictures, or I just didn't get it. So there's a combination, but most are mine. Okay, so one of the features of the park is that they have this structure that is suspended over the spring. This is a natural spring, and as the sign says, it's 50 feet deep, and it flows 6 million gallons of water per hour. And it is just this clear, gorgeous, gorgeous water. And this, so you walk down, you do have to go down some stairs, and there's this big room that has all these windows that you can see underwater. So this is what it looks like from above. And again, it's right over the spring. And you can see the deep blue color, and it gets shallow very easily, but it's just crystal clear. And this little frame, a couple times a day, they put lettuce in there, and the manatee love the lettuce, and they will come, and that keeps the lettuce from just escaping into the water, and it keeps the manatee by the window. And so again, there is a boardwalk or sidewalk all around, and you just come down, and the stairs are from the front, and you go down. And I did not take any pictures of like what it's like. I took pictures of the animals that I could see. Now, this looks like it would be a manatee eye, but it's not. If you look, it's the fish. There's a little fin. His eye is actually like right here. And the other one, they've got these enormous bodies and this little tiny kind of head and little nose and mouth. So here's another view. This is where his eye is. Little flippers. And you can see them. You're under the water watching him. He's eating the lettuce. And this was, Jack, you probably know what kind of fish that is. A snook?
That's a snook.
It is,
Snook.
it's okay. And this, it was a little hard, but there were just all these schools of fish, and you can look down and you see, you know, it's just the spring, and it's really magnificent. I mean, just to think about what it is, all this wonderful, beautiful, clear water coming up. So this shows, again, we've got the, this is where the park is. And I just wanted to let you see the water system and how this goes out to the Gulf of Mexico. But it's all, you know, so if the manatee actually go out, they, you know, they have a lot to navigate to get out. And this is a wildlife refuge. And it started with just manatee, because again, you have all this boating traffic in here, and the river is fairly shallow. And if the boats aren't careful, and they put any speed on their boat, it kicks the propellers down, and that's when it hits the manatee. And the manatee like to be near the surface, and they don't seem to ever learn that they should go down if they're boats. So I'm just going to flip through a bunch of pictures of the animals and the birds and wildlife that they have. And these, all of the animals that you'll see, except for the vultures, are not able to survive in the wild. They were rescued and brought to this place, and they try to rehab them and let them go in the wild, but not all of them are able to do that. So these, I mean, they're just so gorgeous. And they were so aware of everybody. Okay, so these were vultures, and they could come and go. The rest of the birds didn't. The rest of the birds stayed. But I think the vultures would go in and eat whatever was left over from the other animals. But you can see them. I mean, they were quite large. Let's see. So there were, one of the things I liked about the habitats is that, you know, they were not manicured. They were very much probably what the animals would normally encounter in the wilds. There's a little owl. And these little boxes, each, so here's an owl, and I don't know if you can see, each one of these has an owl in it. And they're just on there, roosting on their little poles. Okay, so just different kinds of birds, meagles. Oh, the flamingos. I don't know if I think these were called empire flamingos. I'd never seen such orangey ones that were this big. They were gorgeous, and their necks just sort of like went on forever, you know, and here he's spreading his wings. And this one was fluffing its wings. Just very beautiful. Now, this little bird was not a resident. I think it just dropped in, but it didn't show up super well in the picture, but it was blue. This gray looked blue in person, and we had not seen a bird like that before. So maybe during the questions, some of our birders can let me know what that was. He was very, very beautiful. So as you walk through this park, it's all on a boardwalk, and you could probably walk 3 people across. It's about that wide. In very good condition, and you wander around and you'll see manatee at different times. And this is actually, this bridge has a barrier. And so this is a wild manatee. And the other side of the bridge has the rescue manatee, like this one. And you don't know if it's being cared for to be released, which I think is always their intent. And many of them are recovering from propeller issues. But I had read somewhere that there had been some babies a couple of years ago. So this very well could be one of the toddlers by now, but it's like they're communicating with the one on the other side. So like this, they're just opposite each other. So that's, you wonder if they know each other. So.
How big are they?
Well,
they start about 8 feet long and go to like 13 feet long. And a big one would weigh about 1,300 pounds. So they're like a cow, about like a cow.
Yeah. And they all grow algae on them. And they've got these big, really their propulsion is mainly from their tail. And their little flippers are like little rudders. But you can see this boardwalk, it's really in great repair. Oh, and they have a black bear, which is the kind of bears they have in Florida. And this bear is now 1.5 years old. And it was born in February of 2019. And actually, then the 1.5 years old isn't quite right. He's a little older than that now. But I read about him. And so his mother abandoned him, and they don't know why. And when the rescue people got him, he weighed 4 pounds. And they were able to, make him live. And but he imprinted on humans, and so they could not release him out into the wild. So he's become a resident. And it was hard to get a really good picture of him because he just kept walking around. But a wonderful habitat. Oh, and the pelicans were so energetic. And so each one of them has some problem, and that's why, they are living here. But this guy, let's see. Okay, this one right here only had 1 wing. This is like he somehow, I don't know what happened, but he lost it, and it's just this little bit of a wing, and he flaps it. But this is a female sitting on her nest, and he was so energetic, going all around their island, finding twigs and bringing them to her. And the rest of the pelicans just ignored them. But it was like there were other females on other nests, and I guess its mate was bringing the nesting material, and she would take it and put it where she wanted it in the nest. It was just amazing to watch. And I loved this guy. Look at that eye up here, and then the black feathers under the white. And this is actually a Florida panther. So he was beautiful. And look at that tail. It curls up, and he's watching some whatever is in the next cage. He's watching these two. And I was thinking they were bobcats, but I could be wrong about that. Okay, so when you look at this picture, do you see the alligator? There were alligators, we actually didn't see any just out sunning. It was an overcast day, and again, like I said, we got there at 4. So let me show you the next picture. This is the alligator head, and the only reason we saw him was that I blinked. So let me go back. It's like you wouldn't know that was an alligator. And, you know, he just went, I think he went out that way. I mean, just his body. So that was fun. And you figure, we were like, okay, this is just a little fence. It was not much of a barrier. Oh, gosh. And that algae, I mean, it's just great conditions for them. Now, this is the oldest hippopotamus in captivity. And again, the water is just crystal clear. It's all part of the spring. And I kept waiting for him to get up because the caretaker had put some food up for it. And apparently, some other people were there talking, and they were saying that this squirrel would come up to eat the hippopotamus's food, and that there was a half a cantaloupe. And apparently they would mix like a smoothie or a milkshake for the hippopotamus and pour it in the cantaloupe. And they said that the trainer person had been there and told them that it had apparently the hippopotamus is on medication, and that it was kept, they put it in the cantaloupe. And the thing is that the squirrels, when they go to eat this, the hippopotamus's medications do not bode well for the squirrels. So it's like, be careful stealing other animals' food. But so this was not my picture. He never came out of the water while I was there. But there were several pictures of this hippopotamus, and it always laid there with its nose up against this wall. And I mean, like all of them of her out of the water. So I thought that was kind of interesting. So here's another picture of hippopotamus. I mean, I'm sorry, manatee. They are similar in size. So they have like the natural spring, the free hippopotamus, manatee. And then they have like a big area you saw earlier with the manatees that were free to be in the water, but it couldn't escape into the rest of the river. And this is a special holding cell holding tank for the manatee that they're working with. That probably is a new, has just been brought in. And they've got lots of lettuce for them. And if you notice this below, this slatted surface, it's actually on hydraulic lifts, and it will lift it up out of the water. And the people there are then able to do whatever is necessary for the manatee. The whole level comes up, and you can see see him just swimming around, and he was just doing laps. And usually, let's see. I mean, it was interesting because he'd swim around on his back, and he'd use like one flipper to keep the circle going, and his tail. And then if you see up here, this actually was a ramp, and it would lower. And there's another room beyond that. And they had this huge, it was not so much water treatment, because the water is so wonderful, but it heated the water. And some of the manatee, while they're recuperating, needed the heated water to just help them. And because the manatee don't stay there year round, they do migrate to, I guess, warmer waters. So anyway, this was really, it's quite a development. Oh, I just had to take a picture of him. He was probably 6 inches long. I was glad he did not hop our way. He was enormous and beautiful fall colors. So here's another manatee, and you can see they put something, the white stuff is part of wherever propeller blades had harmed them, and that was something to help them get better. And again, you can see the propeller blades just all over them. And this looks like these have healed nicely. And this one, it looked like, I don't know what happened, but he lost an eye. And so he probably won't be going back out into the wild. And they're just being nice to each other. But again, you've got all the propeller blades. And this one was just up here eating some slimy stuff along the banks. Oh, and this was just such a pretty little fruit. I don't know, some berries. It's very pretty. They have an area of the park that has a gazebo in it now with a view of the river. And I think they've turned this into a wedding venue that you can reserve. And, you know, a lot of places are doing anything they can to raise money to help fund their research and the habitats for the animals. So this is, if you look out the river towards the Gulf, this is what it looks like now. And it's been developed. You know, when Jack and I were there 30 plus years ago, you didn't have all this built up. You had little fishing camps, but they were not right on the water. They were back a little bit, so you didn't see them. So this is a picture just that I did not take. I was there on this day. But in the summer, this is all the boats come to watch the manatee. And so they have a program. You see these people on their kayaks. Now, people can be in their kayaks, but if you want to volunteer at the wildlife facility, they have kayaks there, and they have 4, and I think they always have 4 people out in the summer to keep the people, either keep the boats out of the way or keep people from doing things they're not supposed to. But I thought, you know, if you live within an hour of this place in Florida, and if you really like the animals and the manatee and you love to kayak, that is something to put on your list and just become one of their volunteers and you would be able to be in the water. I mean, the manatee come right up to you while you're in the water and in the kayak. So I thought that would just be a super fun thing to do if you lived there. So after you spent your time at the park and you're up here, you can go down this little road, just drive on down, and you come in this, you just turn in this little street. The streets get littler and littler, and there's Monkey Island. And this is a fun little destination. They have several restaurants. And this is a restaurant. It turns out, so we were there on Monday after Halloween, and everything was closed. It was like, I don't know if they're always closed on Mondays because they're open the weekend for visitors, or if it was because Halloween was so wild. I don't really know. But we had hoped to go have dinner at this place, and you can just sit on the patio and you're right across from Monkey Island. And there is a monkey actually sitting here. There is a monkey up here. And there are probably 5 or 6 monkeys on the island. And it's just really fun. So you can see this guy a little bit better up here. So they're big. And when Jack and I were there, of course, they didn't have these posts keeping you away. But at a point, some monkey jumped off the island onto a boat, and then they didn't have the monkeys there for a while. And now they're back. I was happy to see that. They are back. And so this I included because all of these companies will let you charter boats, or like this is it was called the Nature Coast Eco Tour. And, you know, they're just different excursions that you could do. If you remember the map that had all that green and all the water going through it, that could be a really fun little side adventure if you're up for it. Oh, so this was the restaurant we ended up the only one we found open, actually, and this was back in Mount Dora where we were staying, and it was a Cuban restaurant, and it was so much fun. And we discovered a new food, which is called chimichurri, and it's a sauce that was great on bread and on this. These were bell peppers stuffed with vegetables, and they were wonderful. And this was pork with onion and like caramelized plantains and rice and beans. So that was sort of the end of our day. Oh, look, you know, I told you there was an arrow pointing to Homosassa. That's where that went. Oh, gosh. Okay, so if anyone has questions, I'm going to look at the chat thing. Let's see. Let me go back up to the first one. Oh, Ellie is the $1 million donor. You're probably right. Oh, Jack says, tell us if you can swim with the alligators. Yeah.
There are a fair number. When you go like kayaking along the shore, you'll see alligators every single time. So they're in there, you know, plenty of fish to eat. But no, it's I don't think they've ever reported anyone being harmed by an alligator.
They keep them well fed with lettuce, I'm sure. Ron says, the hippo. Now I remember that place. So I didn't see Ron got on. That's great. And Stan and Sandra, have you actually been to Monkey Island, or monkeys just steal your food anywhere? When I stop the screen share, I can find out. Gail asked about the flamingos. I don't know about those flamingos, but I do know in general they eat shrimp. And that's at least the ones in the zoos in Texas. And that's why they're shrimp color. So since these guys were a little oranger, I don't know if maybe there's a different kind of shrimp. So I'm gonna, there you are. Okay. So does anybody have any other questions before I go to the recipe? Jack, you might know more about the food for the flamingos. Stan and Sandra?
Only that the Houston Zoo had gone to a cheaper brand of shrimp, and the flamingos lost their nice pink color. So they went back to the higher grade of shrimp, and they bloomed back in this lovely pink flamingo color. So I don't know if that's the same thing in Florida or what. I'm more of a manatee guy than a flamingo guy, Kathleen. So I'll field the manatee question.
Okay. Well, so Stan and Sandra, I was wondering, have you actually been there, or had you had another run-in with monkeys?
No, we have not been there, but we had a run-in in Africa, South Africa, where they steal whatever they can out of your Jeep, whatever. They steal cookies. And there was a story where one of the guys was on a small Jeep with his daughter, a young baby, and he stole her baby.
Oh my goodness.
He did. He did eventually get her back. Running after the monkey, it was actually a baboon. He went running after the baboon with a bunch of cookies.
He threw a bag of cookies.
Yeah, he threw a bag of
grabbed
cookies
the
at the
cookies,
baboon.
Oh my gosh.
Dropped the kid and wanted the cookies.
Oh, that's great.
So
Okay.
did the child decide to go back to him or to live with the baboons?
Yeah.
Like Tarzan's daughter.
Right. The child didn't get enough of a chance to try and live with him. Father was running after the baboon all the way through the forest.
Wow. All right. Well, so did anybody have any other questions? Oh, Beth. Beth wrote, I kayaked with manatees up by Merritt Island. Were you able to actually like run your hand across their back and stuff? Whoops.
Beth, you need to hold down the space bar.
There.
Yeah.
We went in a group, and we were able to go into a pod of them, and there was a little one, and it was on one of the channels on Merritt Island. And I don't know, we spent like half an hour there, and then we went out to another island where the roseate spoonbills were and looked at them out on that island. It was really fun. But it's been like probably 5 years or so, I guess.
Okay.
Yeah, it was neat.
On these, to get around Homosassa Springs in that area, really the best way is to do it by canoe or kayak, because you're in close, you're not going to hurt any animals, and there's really excellent fishing. If you're into that, both tarpon and snook come up there and you can fly fish for them, and you will catch fish every single time. It's just, you know, a beautiful, beautiful place for fly fishing, and highly recommend it. Good place to go.
Are
By the
there,
way, just
are
an
there
aside,
are there any other places where they are known to live in big numbers?
The manatee normally travel in individually or in pairs. They don't normally collect in an area unless it's like a warm water source near the coast. And you'll, like, up on a trip up Homosassa Springs, if you're there at certain times of the year, like in the spring, you know, you might see 20 or 30 of them. They call that a herd, just like and the males are bulls and the females are cows, and it's a herd. So, but you'll see them, you know, and they don't travel in a big pack though. They'll travel in pairs.
Thank you.
Stan?
on the East Coast, around Fort Pierce, there's this manatee center. And we've been going there for 17 years. We always stop there. It's a little bridge. It's a special spot on the coast. And there's like a little canal. And there's a combination of cold water and warm water in this canal. And they love staying in the canal. However, in 17 years, I have to say, we never saw a manatee.
And you need to go to the other side of Florida. I mean, just
I know.
you'll see them, and they're really just
Yeah, I know.
wonderful.
My brother-in-law is in Sun City Center, very close to another manatee center. He says he sees them all the time. So we will at some point see manatees.
I had read that from a genetic standpoint, they're actually closer related to elephants than to hippopotami.
Mhm, yeah.
And they actually have some of the same bone structure as elephants. They're also in this category of animals that they call Sirenia. And the reason that's important, if you've ever remember back in high school, you read the Odyssey, and Odysseus and the guys got tricked by the sirens
Yeah.
to run their boat in the shore, the sirens. Well, that's what this whole category is of manatees and dugongs, that the early mariners thought maybe these are what mermaids are.
Yeah.
Interesting. Okay, well, you know what? I am going to ask, so there's a question from Gail. She said, are there warnings? Are the propeller danger to the manatee? There are signs all over the waterways, all over. And she said, are there fines for injuring them? And yes, there are. In 1972, there was an Endangered Species Act and a Mammal Protection Act that if you're convicted for violating any of those laws, the fines are up to $100,000 and or 1 year in prison. So, but it's hard to catch the person that does it. I mean, yeah, so
Right.
It's probably easier with all the video cameras, all the phones out there, maybe taking, you know, getting evidence. But anyway, I know that actually I will say this for this wildlife center. You know, I like it because it's not too big and you feel like each of the animals, each of the birds, they are really well taken care of, and it's like they don't have too many. They have exactly what they can manage well, and you feel like every one of these animals is individually taken care of, and they know what that each one needs. And by the time you're ready to leave, you want to make a donation. So it's and they also do have a gift shop that closes at 5, not 5:30. So it's got all kind of fun little things to buy.